Hi everyone, back again. Got my cup of tea this time. We've had a look so far at costs and whether they're direct or indirect, and we've had a look at the elements of cost, whether it be labour, materials or expenses. So we have to move on from that and consider how costs actually behave. There are four main types of cost behaviour: fixed costs, variable costs, semi-variable costs and stepped costs. So the first cost we're going to have a look at are costs that we may call fixed costs. These costs, we have to pay them whether we make any units of production or not. For instance, we have to pay factory rent. That might cost £2,000 a month. If we make 10 units, we still pay £2,000 a month. If we make 10,000 units, we still pay £2,000 a month. And if we shut the factory down for holidays and we don't make anything at all, then we still have to pay £2,000 a month. The reason that we say it is fixed is if we have a look at this diagram. The rent is £2,000. If we make 1 unit, it'll be 2,000. If we make 2 units, it will be 2,000. If we make 3 units, it will be 2,000. If we make 100,000 units, it will be 2,000. So the level of output has nothing to do with the cost. The cost does not change with the level of output. Rent is rent. It is £2,000 and it will never change whether we make 1 unit or 1 million units. Fixed cost. The second type of cost indirect costs are often fixed. The second cost is what we're going to see the behaviour of a variable cost. A variable cost is a direct cost. And as you remember, a direct cost is one that can be traced back to the unit of production. Here, the cost is along the side and the output is along the bottom. If we make 1 unit, it costs us 10. If we make 2 units, it costs 20. If we make 3 units, it costs 30. If we make 4 units, it costs 40. So the more that we make, the more the total cost goes up. But if 1 is 10, 2 is 20, 3 is 30, and 4 is 40, we can say that the output, the cost, alters directly with the level of output. 1 is 10, 2 is 20. That is a direct relationship. A variable cost, which is also a direct cost, alters directly with the level of output. 1 costs 10, 2 costs 20, 3 costs 30, 10 costs 100. This line will go up at 45 degrees because of that relationship. A variable cost is also a direct cost, completely different from a fixed cost that does not alter with the level of production. The next cost we're going to look at is what we call a semi-variable cost. Here, for instance, if you have a telephone line at home, you pay land rental, line rental, and then you pay per usage per call. If you hire a car, you may pay a flat rate of £80 per week and then a certain amount per mile that you use. So these costs, these semi-variable costs, compose of both a fixed element, the land rental or the rental of the car, and a variable element, which is the miles you use or the calls that you make. So we can see this line, this area here at the bottom, we would call the fixed, because we pay the rent for the car, whether we drive 1 mile, 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles, 8,000 miles. The rental of the car remains the same. If we have a telephone landline, the rental remains the same regardless of how many telephone calls we make. This area at the bottom we would call the fixed element. If I write that in, but not with this pen. This element here is the variable. The more telephone calls we make, the more the cost. The more miles we drive, the more the cost. What's important here is that your fixed cost plus your variable costs will equal this line, which is your total cost. This graph will never start at 0. It will always start further up this axis, because whether you drive any miles or make any telephone calls at all, you will still have to pay the fixed element of the line rental or the car rental. So a semi-variable cost is made up of fixed and variable. If you type these three types of cost into Google or whatever, you can get some quite good graphs and explanations that you can look at. But the main thing is fixed costs do not alter with the level of production. The cost is fixed whether you make 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. It is £2,000. Variable costs, 45 degrees. They alter directly with the level of production. 1 is £10, 2 is £20, 3 is £30, 10 is £100. The unit cost, therefore, is the same. If 1 is 10, 2 is 20, the unit cost is still 10, 3 is 30, the unit cost is still 10, 10 is 100, the unit cost is still 10. The last type of cost we're going to have a look at is what we're going to call a stepped cost. Or a semi-fixed. Here, for instance, we have a supervisor. His wage is £1,000. He can look after production from 0 to 100. He works flat out. He can't look after any more production units. His staff are working for him and he's really busy sorting out all the orders, and he can look after that production range. If you want to make more than 100 units, this chap can't look after it. So you're going to have to employ another supervisor. 2 supervisors, the cost is now £2,000. However, it will remain at £2,000 between the production level 100 to 200. The second supervisor can look after the next team who make those extra 100 units. If you want to make more than 200 units, then the second supervisor can't look after any more than 100 units of production. So we need a third supervisor, and the cost goes up to £3,000. This supervisor will look after production level 200 to 300. So the cost is constant over a range of production. Constant between 0 and 100. It jumps up, but it is constant between 100 and 200. It jumps up with a third supervisor, but it is constant between 200 and 300. So those are our 4 main cost behaviour. Fixed costs do not alter with the level of production, level of output. Variable costs alter directly with the level of output. Semi-variable costs have both a fixed element and a variable element, and semi-fixed or stepped costs are constant over a range of production, and then they step up and they're constant over the next range, and they step up and they're constant again over the next range. So these are cost behaviours. Direct costs will always be variable. 1 chair needs 1 metre of material. 2 chairs needs 2 metres. It alters directly with the level of output. Indirect costs, which we might call overheads, often tend to be fixed. Your production supervisor's salary, your salespeople in the office, your administrators, all of those people are overheads. They are not producers in the actual construction sense. So those 4 graphs we need to make sure that we can have a look at. I've uploaded some questions for you to practice deciding whether the cost is fixed, whether it's variable or whether it's semi-variable. If you can attempt those and put them into the Google Classroom, that would be great, and I can mark them for you. Otherwise, I will put the answers in later on today once you've had a go at attempting them. If there's any problem uploading, I'll upload the answers and you can see then for yourself whether you were correct. Any problems that you have with any of the questions, please either go onto the Google Classroom or email me. I'm checking that regularly as well. And if there's anything I can help you with, then obviously I will. Just try and keep positive, and we'll do our best. We may not be going quite as fast as we were, but we've got to keep trying. So anyway, good luck and be in touch, and I'll post some more this afternoon. Thank you.